Swinging.
All right, welcome back to the MuuvWell Podcast. My name's Logan, and today we're talking about one of the most challenging parts of running besides the actual running part, fueling while you're running, and that's inside of the sport and outside of the sport. So what does fueling look like for each of us when we're running a race, when we're training for a race, but also just day to day? So what's it look like today, Abby?
It is looking like a bright and sunny Monday morning today, and we're going to kick it off with the first hot and heavy question. How do you get into knowing how to fuel for your races? I know from speaking from personal experiences, it doesn't always come very easy because you think, the general runner wants to start out probably running to get fit or maybe to lose weight. And the concept of eating while you run is weird. The concept of trying to figure out how much you need to eat to counteract your running is like hard to balance. But for me personally, I was severely undereducated on how to fuel myself at my first marathon, and I ran the whole thing with no water, no food, absolutely nothing, and I bonked. So, how do you fuel for a race? Why do you eat while you run? Like, what is that concept and why do we do it?
I think my experience was the same. Like I had a rude awakening figuring out how to fuel for a race. Like my first ultra that I did a 50K, and at like mile 16 or 17, I felt like I didn't want to eat anymore. So I just didn't eat or drink anything because it just didn't sound good. It wasn't going down well. And I bonked at like mile 24. I was like paying the price severely. So I think for me, it's been a lot of trial and error, just like figuring out what works, but then also just doing a little bit of research. But the biggest thing was just kind of putting myself in the situation of running a race and trying to fuel and realize what worked and what didn't. And also, like Abby said, like the concept of eating while you're running is weird anyway. And then the actual act of trying to do it is even more challenging because it's easy to say one thing, but then actually doing it, is obviously much harder.
I think for me, I remember the first trail race I did. It was 18 miles at Otter Creek, and I didn't eat. It was 18 miles, and I didn't eat anything the whole time until mile 16, and I was like cramping and starving. So I remember running up to an aid station. I grabbed literally a handful of M&Ms and threw them all in my mouth at once. But at that point, it was too late. But and then I had another bad experience at the Memphis Marathon, the St. Jude Marathon, and I remember the night before I ate Zaxby's and drank a big sweet tea and a bunch of fried chicken. So I realized like really the fueling actually the race is important, but it really starts 3 days before the race, right? Like that's when it really, the magic is what you eat prior to it. Are you hydrated? Those kind of things. And I've noticed on race, obviously it's very important to fuel during the race. And we'll get into more of that, but like you don't have to fuel as much or you're not making up for lost time if you do the right stuff leading up to it too, I think. Wade, this is your wheelhouse, man. I'm surprised you haven't jumped in already.
I'm terrible at it. This is probably one of the parts I struggle with the most. So, especially during races, I try to go in with the game plan, and I hardly ever stick to the game plan because, like you said, you get in 20 miles or like in an Ironman, like 40 miles on a bike after swimming. Like it's hard to continue to force yourself to eat, especially on the bike, like being over in that bent flex position. Like my stomach was already cramping enough as it was anyways on that. But typically like for fueling, like Kevin said, it usually does start 3 days before. So you've got to be able to up your glycogen stores. I know Kevin will love that word. So like just fueling your body with the carbohydrates so your body's able to use it for fuel during the actual race. But then during the race, trying to fuel every hour, 45 minutes at least for some sort of gel or chew for me is usually the route I go. And it's usually just trial and error on which one settles the best on my stomach, honestly, and which one I can tolerate the most. But that's usually the route that I go at. It's usually every hour. But if I'm not over, usually like even in a training run, like over 10 miles, I usually don't fuel. Honestly, before running.
I noticed for me too. I had to start putting more of an emphasis on electrolytes because I sweat like crazy. When I finish a race, my whole face is white from salt. And so using electrolytes leading up to the race, and I do really like the BPN, whatever their electrolyte stuff's called.
Just electrolytes.
That stuff I've really liked. I've used that the last couple of years since Logan started working here, and that's really helped. So I typically, and I take salt tablets, and I found for whatever reason the Hammer Strength salt tablets I really like. So I usually take 2 of those every 30 minutes to an hour or something like that.
You did that Chad's race, man. You were consistent. Every lap Kevin come in, he'd get new electrolyte drink plus 2 salt tablets.
Every
I
time.
was like, goodness grief, that is so much sodium.
So
you're
much
putting in your
sodium.
body.
But I don't take in a lot of calories actually. I just taking a lot of electrolytes. I found like because I didn't eat enough early on in my running. I'm not gonna say career, but when I started running my running journey, there you go.
None of us have an actual career in
not a
running, by the way.
For me, I started eating a lot. I was trying to take in 350 calories every hour, which felt like a lot. And then my stomach would get all weird and stuff. So I feel like lately I've backed off. I don't eat as much, but I've taken a lot more electrolytes. If you watched our YouTube video from the Pin Hoodie, Logan's just hammering me the whole time about he's got to eat. But I didn't eat that much, honestly, even in the 100-mile race. I mean, I did, but not a ton.
Yeah.
I ate probably less in that 100-miler than I used to in like a 50K.
You grazed really well though. Like you grazed it. And honestly, I feel like that's a pretty good tactic. And again, a lot of it is just figuring out what works best for you. But I think going in with a plan is good, which you had a plan. I mean, just knowing you needed a lot of electrolytes. And honestly, sometimes your plan is to the point where you're like, I'm just going to eat whatever sounds good. But I think in the beginning, training with certain gels or certain foods is good to get your body acclimated and your stomach used to it. And then taking those with you to the race. But then you get to a point where where we're all at is like you take those things and you take that fueling with you and you take it as needed, but then you also can go out on the course and be kind of open and be like, I'm just going to listen to my body and whatever sounds good, which I feel like you did that honestly the whole time.
And Abby said before in the prayer right before we started recording this, that help us be present in this moment. Yeah. I think that's what really like races. You just got to be able to listen to your body, be present. And you kind of, after a while, you kind of start knowing what you need.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I need electrolytes. Oh, I need carbs. Oh, I need something substantial or whatever. You know, you just got to listen to your body and know. So,
So how do you learn to know that? Like, I just show up race day and eat? How does that work? What does the process of that look like?
I think it's just trial and error, right? Like, I mean, in the beginning,
between training and race day.
I don't ever eat training ever.
Really?
Never.
Don't listen to Kevin.
I'm just
honestly sometimes same though. But
if I do a 20-mile run, I usually don't bring water or anything.
You never stop to get water?
No, nothing.
Kevin jumps in the creek, opens his mouth.
I'm
Kevin is elite.
Just being honest with you. Like I did before the 100-mile race, I did do a 31-mile run, and I took a granola bar, a gel, and a beef stick. And that was the only thing
Stay hard.
That's the only thing I ate.
That's decent at least.
That's the only thing I ate in a training run.
But nothing on a 20-mile run.
Never.
That is crazy.
I don't bring anything.
Well, I will say there are times when I could probably get through a 20-mile run with like minimal to no fuel, but I know that I'm going to pay the price by the end of it, and my recovery is going to suck. But then also, like, I like to just use that time to practice for races.
But I do think, like, to answer your question, I mean, it is trial and error. Like, I mean, I remember cramping in some races, like 10 miles into a 30-mile race and stuff like that, and then I would go, then I started going overboard, eating a ton, and then I've kind of come back. But you have to, it's just like anything. You just have to do it, try it, and then have a plan and be consistent. I try to at least drink water electrolytes or something every mile in a race, every single time. So as soon as my watch dings, I'm drinking something.
Isn't there like a science to, and this might be a little too niche, or I may be just saying things that are not fact-based at all, but you talked about the glycogen stores, and it like, in a marathon, you want a carb load because it taps into those glycogen stores. But like in ultra running, doesn't it more so like, since it's slower paces, hit more your fat stores? Or am I making this up?
Depends on how much you have stored up. So I mean, obviously it'll go through glycogen stores first. I believe, don't quote me this, Instagram, don't get on me, but liver first, then it'll go to your muscle glycogen stores, and then it'll tap into more fat tissue after that. For more of a fuel. So it just depends on how long you're going, how much you're actually fueling, and just kind of go basis off that. So I mean, it just depends on how much you're fueling, honestly, during an ultra run, if you actually are able to tap into that. Because I know your brother Jim, he's done a lot of them like ultra fasted, right? Like he trains fasted a lot, and he's really into.
Well, that's kind of why I do that. I don't know if that's right. So like, I always run fasted in the morning. I never eat before I run ever. So if I'm going to do something more than 15 miles, I might eat something before, but typically I never eat anything.
But I
do feel like that's helped me. Yeah. Actually, I don't know if that's right or not.
I feel like it feel like it makes other body systems more efficient. Right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're naturally going to have something go wrong in a race where you may not have fuel, you may run out of water, you know, and like, is your body able to adapt, or have you trained in those scenarios?
Yeah.
There's more than one ways to skin a cat. Like, I know there's a lot of people that's saying you have to train fueled. There's a lot of people that, well, I'm not going to fuel. I'm going to go into this full ketosis and be able to do a sustained effort. There's people that only want animal meat. There's people that only do vegan training, you know, like there's so many different ways, and there's high performance athletes in all
every
of those
single category,
you know?
Yeah.
So it's honestly just whatever fits your body type the most, and like what you preferably want to do. Honestly, I think that's what it comes down to.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing that I've learned to do is just listen to my body, and doing that through trial and error. But when it comes to race day specifically, and I kind of use the example of, this is obviously not the same thing, so females don't get mad at me, but when a pregnant woman is like, when she craves certain things, like Emily went through this, when she craves certain foods, it's like reflected at her doctor's appointments too. It's like, oh, your XYZ levels are low, or like your XYZ levels look good, like your blood work looks good. And it's like foods that she had been craving that are supplying her with those things that she needs.
Salty food, she's low on electrolytes.
Exactly. Yeah. And so honestly, it's similar in the case of ultra running, or running. I'm sorry. Like, you get to a point in a race now where you're running and you have that moment where you're like, I need electrolytes, or I need something sweet, or I need some fruit. You just know what your body needs. And then, or a lot of times for me, the biggest is like, I need caffeine and ibuprofen. And it's like, and you know, and seriously, and it's a game changer whenever you have those things. Like for me, is cuties, like oranges. I get to a point in a race where I'm like,
what would be the other cuties?
Usually it's either Emily or oranges.
Okay.
Yeah. Either a cutie. No, but I get to a point in a race, and that's usually mine, where I'm like, I'm craving some oranges or like some type of fruit, and I'll just house it. And then usually it's like 45 minutes, I'm like, oh my gosh, like that is exactly what I needed. And then sometimes it's like, the other thing for me is like salt and vinegar Pringles. Like that's the other thing. And so just knowing what your body needs. And most of the time I'm either looking at it as like, I need caffeine or I need some type of sodium, usually are the two things for me. But like Kevin said, I think it's the trial and error aspect of it, and being able to like, I think it's really easy in races to feel like, oh, like flustered and rushed. Like I need to grab this and hurry. But really, if you just like take a minute to just like maybe take 20 seconds to think what sounds good to my body, or what do I need, what I have not had in a while. And you use the first 20 to 30 seconds to do that, and then use the rest of it to like actually grab what you need. You're not going to feel like flustered and rushed. Cause I know, like from my experience, I do that often, where I feel like I have to rush through an aid station or something, and then I forget 2 or 3 things that I feel like I need.
You weren't rushing at Chad Wright's race.
No, Chad's race, I was taking my sweet time.
A freaking buffet out there.
Yeah.
Right,
Awesome.
yelling at you.
Yeah, I was like, skimming the food options, and after about 20 seconds of it, Chad's screaming at me to hurry up.
Right?
Yeah, on a megaphone. I'm like, good gosh.
So I've only mainly done long events in the summer. I've never really done a long event in the winter. How does that vary for the fueling for you all in like a long endurance race in the winter versus the summer? Obviously, you're gonna sweat more in the summer.
Yeah.
It's gonna be harder on your body that way. But how does that affect you guys in your training and your fueling?
I think
based on season,
I think it can sneak up on you. I mean, I definitely feel the physical effects of needing more during the summer. But like when I did my big effort 2 weekends ago, I had layers on underneath, and so you don't feel like you're getting hot. But then whenever I was like, what I would feel underneath my jacket, I was drenched in sweat. And so that, I think you have to be more conscious of the fueling during the wintertime, because your body temperature doesn't get up as much, but you're still burning a lot, especially when you're layered up. So those base layers are just like retaining that body heat, and you're sweating a lot. But I would say like during the summer, I can like physically, I crave more fuel maybe, whereas in the winter, I feel like I could go a lot longer without it. So I have to be a lot more conscious and strategic, or intentional, I should say, about making myself fuel. But
so what kind of race do you not need to fuel for distance wise? I would say like 10K or less. I'm not.
Oh, you're saying like at what point do you say I'm not? At what point do you start fueling?
Yeah, like what kind of races do you need to fuel? Like, do you need to eat, drink during, and what kind do you not need to?
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like any drink you can drink some sort of liquid in.
Any race?
I was like, where are you going?
Any race you can drink some sort of liquid. Any drink you can have a liquid. It could be a solid.
Could be a debate.
Depends on what it could be. So any race you can have some sort of liquid. But I mean, for whenever you eat and you take in electrolytes, it takes at least 30 minutes for your body to actually convert that into energy.
So what point is it worth
any
it?
point, so like, let's say I'm
matter.
at a 10K and I'm at an hour 10K, right? So I'm 30 minutes in, I take a gel. By the time I finish that race, the body is now going to be able to use that energy.
Yeah.
So there's no point.
Yeah.
So anything, honestly, over an hour would
Yeah.
probably be beneficial, but you got to start fueling 30 minutes at least in to be
Yeah.
able to see the effects of it, like being beneficial.
I usually take something 30 minutes before a race. Like I'll pop
Yeah.
a gel or something 30
Mhm.
minutes before a race starts. So that makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know why I did that.
Kevin's so scientific and he didn't even know it.
I don't, in terms of like intra race, like during the race, carrying anything, I don't carry anything unless it's a half marathon distance at minimum usually.
Yeah.
And even that, I'm just taking either gels or like chews, like Honey Stinger chews or Go gels. And then from a liquid standpoint, I just grab on course nutrition. I don't carry a bottle.
Yeah.
And then 5K and 10K, I don't even know that I've ever ran a sanctioned 5 or 10K.
Really?
I don't think I have. No, I haven't. Actually.
2025 Hardensburg Turkey Trot
There you go.
is right up your alley.
Yeah.
We should do a
I know a
MuuvWell
guy.
5K one day.
Yeah, we
That
should
would be
put
fun.
one on. But yeah,
No, just ourselves. We should
Oh,
just
oh,
do it
yeah,
one day,
that'd
like
be fun.
Caracas.
we should. Or we could just do it around the office.
I wonder who would win.
I don't know.
I don't know. It
Between
depends.
you two, I'm
Depends
definitely
time of
out
year.
there.
I guess.
Abby,
I don't
honestly, Abby
know.
would smoke us.
But yeah, I
y'all are
think
hyping me up, but I would not.
Yeah,
I am not a short distance girl.
yeah, I don't know that I've even cared to run like a 5 or 10K. Honestly, I mean,
10K is a fun distance. I
Yeah.
really like.
I
that
would see it
distance.
being super fun because you can like really push it, and then you
Yeah.
know 5K, it's like you push it, and by the time you're done, it's okay. That wasn't bad, but I could see a 10K where if you're really,
five-
You're not
5Ks are-
pushing it hard enough, then, man.
5Ks
I've never
are-
done one, so
they're
I don't-
They're
Brutal.
miserable. I'd rather do a marathon than a 5K.
really,
Honestly, because like if you run it hard, like obviously,
yeah,
you're not
yeah.
gonna-
If you
but
really
if
open
really
up,
push yourself. I mean, because you can redline it the whole time. max
Right,
heart rate,
yeah.
Really.
yeah, that's true.
You know, because you're talking around 20 minutes basically. Like,
Mhm.
oof, they're not fun at all.
So logistically, with this fueling, like where do you put it? How do you carry it? And how does that vary dependent on the race? Because I know I've kind of been steered away from ultras personally because I don't know where to carry the food or what to do. And so I'm like, I can't do that. Like, I don't know how that works. So yeah, how does it vary and how do you do it logistically?
I put my salt tablets in a little Ziploc bag. And those
Well,
usually-
start with like what distance are you referring to though too? Because
Oh,
like ultra,
okay.
you're wearing a vest, so
50K. It's okay. So for me, a 50K, I'm usually using a handheld water bottle with a little pouch on it. Typically, now that I've got the running vest, I might wear that. I didn't
yeah,
have a running
those are
vest.
clutch.
Those are nice. But historically, at 50K, I'd have a handheld bottle that has like they make these for trail running and stuff or ultras, and they have like a strap and it has a pocket. So typically one of those, I stick a gel, 1 or 2 gels in there. And then I usually in the pocket of my shorts, I would put a Ziploc bag of salt tablets, enough for the whole race. And I would just pull those out. And then I would just graze at the aid station. Above that, I'm probably wearing something.
Yeah.
So I used to have like the camelback kind of thing on your back with the straw, which I don't like those.
I've never used one.
Well, you can't get to anything. It's all on
Yeah.
your back. And
Oh, yeah.
And then if you want to go fill it back up, then you got to take the whole thing off, and it's this big long process
Yeah.
and everything. And a lot of times the straw leaks or the little thing comes off the end. So I'm not a huge fan of those. But now I finally got the running vest. That's the way
That
to
has
go.
the 2
Oh my
collapsible
gosh,
flasks.
that is
Those
the
are
way
clutch.
to go. Yeah.
Yeah,
So I have is it Aspire? Is that what I have?
Ultra Spire is the one you
Ultra
have. Yeah,
And it's like a vest, and you have a similar setup, right?
yeah. Mine's the exact same stuff, just Solomon.
Solomon.
Yeah,
Solomon, I think, is the best. Solomon or Ultra Spire is good.
Ultra Spire, Camelback, Ultra Spire, and Solomon all have
And
similar
there's
vests.
There's another Ultimate Direction.
Oh yeah, Ultimate Direction's a
There's-
good one too. North Face has some too. It's really just whatever brand you
but,
like. And,
but a vest, and it has like 2 bottles on the front that you can pull out and fill back up. That's
and they
the
like
best.
collapse as you drink them too. So they're
Yes.
very minimal.
Yep. And then there's pockets all on that. So, and you can put your phone up there in the front. So that's again the other thing in the back. Like if you want to get to your phone, you can't get to it. So it's nice if you're needing to like text your crew or anything like that. You have the phone right there, and that's got a bunch of little pockets where you can stuff
Gels.
I mean,
and
I could stuff
food.
so much in that thing. Like,
And then plus,
wouldn't even wanna
a
carry
lot
that
of time,
much.
all those vests too, they had the option for like a flask,
Yes.
like or like a high big what's it
Pack
called,
with
like a
metal
pack
Type thing.
in the back. So really, I would use that as like if I like any jackets or gloves too, or headlamps. Like
yeah.
you can use the back of that now that you have the bottles in the front, your poles. Yeah,
Yeah. So the running vest is the way to go. And if you have that, you can stuff drinks, gels, everything right there in the front, so you can pull them out. Yeah, they're really, really nice. So I think I would probably wear that 50K and beyond.
Honestly, I think you could start really seeing the benefits at a marathon for a vest
Yeah.
if you
I feel
wanted.
like that'd be weird though.
People
road
do it.
marathon?
Yeah,
Yeah, people
I
run-
would not want to do it. I would never do it for a road marathon, but I've seen people wear
Why
them.
wouldn't you do it though? Like I wouldn't either. but
Just for
why?
optics.
I
think
just
it's optics.
honestly, it's for sure the optics and ego part of it. I'm like, I'm not gonna wear a sting. And honestly, like they do weigh you down a little bit. And
Yeah.
like if I'm running a marathon, I'm on a road marathon, I should say. Like I'm trying to run for time, so I'm trying to carry as minimal things
Here's
as possible.
what I can't figure out, and Abby and Logan are. You guys have figured this out, I guess. On a road marathon, I think they're harder because I don't want to wear all the stuff. So I feel like I look weird. And so I run to an aid station to get water, and they got these little they're like medicine like shot glasses
Yeah.
basically. And I couldn't even drink the stinking water. So I was missing it all. I was spilling everywhere, and I had no fuel or anything. What do you guys? How do you?
I stopped for a
Did
second.
you run through it or did you stop?
No, I didn't stop.
Or you were
That's
trying
why.
to run and you missed it all. That's why.
Some people
But
I've
but
seen.
then you slow down. I feel like
You slow down way more not having the fuel.
Yeah, exactly. Over time, and that's what I've found. Because at first, I would try to just like throw it back, and as I run, and I've seen people post tricks and way to do it, and they can somehow pull it off. But I will grab the cup and I'll kind of like walk for a second, throw it back because it adds 2 seconds. If you're moving well and you're trained well, it really shouldn't matter. But
that was my problem.
I run and do it at the same time, but I think I like pinch the cup a little bit
Yeah.
and
yeah.
and sip it back. But it's funny. I kind of like just get it in my mouth and then hold it there and
Mhm.
take tiny like swallows of it. Like I don't just like drink it as I'm pouring it
that's
in.
what I do whenever I stop and throw it all back and just kind of like
Yeah,
sip
but
it.
honestly, like I find when it does spill, like majority of the time I'm not gonna run a race where it's freezing cold or anything like that. So it kind of does like feel good. It like cools me off. Like I start dumping them on, like I'll grab water and just dump them on my head throughout the race too. So, but I don't know, like I keep my fuel in my spy belt, just like around my waist, and I definitely slow my pace down a little bit, and it's a little awkward. But it also kind of distracts me because I'm focused on something else. So maybe it's placebo, but I don't know. It's like awkward, but not the worst thing in the world.
Yeah.
And I keep moving.
Mhm.
So I don't know.
I
If that
think it
answers
all
your question.
comes into like what you're wearing.
Yeah.
So like, what is your day of outfit? Mine is usually cargo shorts.
Yeah. I
You can
bet.
fit so much
So
fuel in
much
those
stuff,
cargo
yeah.
shorts.
And
You
then
know what I mean? I could run for years with how much I have in my cargo shorts.
oh, dude, plenty of space.
Yeah.
That is a good question though. I mean, the outfit does.
Oh,
Okay, so
100%.
what is your? So here's some of my go-to things outside of fueling. So I'm gonna make sure I kind of have my electrolyte pills ready. I have a few gels. I have a few things. But some of my other go-to things, I always clip my toenails before. You
Mhm.
do that?
I do it has to be about 3 or 4 days out though.
Okay,
You can't
yeah.
do the day before because then it's like if you clipped one a little too short or
Yeah,
something, So
yeah.
I'm usually 3 to 5 days out for clipping my toenails.
I do that. I always run in Swiftwick socks. They're the best. Like I don't care what anybody says. They're the best.
On trail, I wear Injinji socks because the toe socks, like each individual toe has been protected, and they get wet and they
Logan got me
do
on
well.
those. Those
Yeah.
are what I wear.
Injinji for
Yeah.
trail, those are my
Except,
go-to. Road,
honestly, is it
Swiftwick,
Belega? Is that how you say it?
Belega. I've heard
Those are my
those.
favorite socks I have.
Mm.
to
Are they
run
toe
in.
socks?
No.
Okay.
The toe socks, honestly, my toes, sounds weird. I have huge feet. I'm a size 15. My toes are too big and they don't really fit in the socks.
Oh gosh.
And it honestly drives me more nuts.
Yeah, and
having
Yeah,
the
I
individual
think that
toe
would drive
wrap.
me crazy.
I thought
But
I'm
it
like-
keeps me from blistering nearly
Yeah,
as bad.
I'd say
like
that
the first
they
year in
do
the Ultra,
great.
I ran with no toe socks and my whole foot was a blister. Like
Yeah.
the whole bottom of
You
my
just wear
toe
like
was-
cotton socks.
No, I had like my Belega socks. I always say
Okay.
I was better than that. But then I wore the toe socks this last year and I didn't have hardly any blisters
Yeah,
on my toes.
That's we got to get Abby on the sock game because she's rocking like the Fruit of the Loom cotton
Yeah.
socks.
It's tragic.
We got to get her in some Swiftwicks for road running
Oh,
at
man.
least.
Yeah, I have a couple. I do have
Okay,
a couple.
okay.
I'm not picky. What I am picky about though is my pre-race meal.
Okay.
The night
Yeah.
before, I'm always putting down a whole
I've
pizza.
done that.
I do no cheese on it.
You eat the whole pizza?
Always.
Wow.
If
What
not,
size
I
pi-
have
what
failed.
size?
Well, you did
I,
Blaze
um,
last time, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
It's like a
okay.
personal
So-
pizza.
Okay, I'm thinking like hot and ready Little Caesars.
Little
No,
Caesars.
no.
Double pepperoni, double cheese.
No, I usually about a couple days before I'll start cutting out some fiber and fats and like just load on the carbs. And then that day before it's like straight carbs all day.
Yeah.
What's your go-to pre-race meal and go-to kind of carb loading
I was gonna
method
say,
for a race?
So like days leading up, I do
Yeah.
I do a lot of like ground turkey and rice for my lunches and stuff anyway. So I usually will do like a cup of jasmine rice and then like 8 ounces of turkey. So I'm usually going like 2 cups of rice for pretty much lunches for like 3 days leading up to the race. But honestly, other than that, I mean, I just add like maybe I just go heavier on the carb source at dinner time. I make a lot of my carbs up just in extra jasmine rice, honestly. Like I go crazy on the rice. And then the night before the race, traditionally I just do like marinara sauce, noodles, and ground turkey. But I have done like burger and fries one time before, which was kind of an anomaly. That's the only time I've done it. And it was fine. I think I like the way that it digests, like the pasta meal. But that's usually my go-to.
I usually start like Wednesday afternoon, starting
If the race
carbs.
is Saturday.
Yeah, if the race is
Okay.
Saturday. And then I start drinking electrolytes.
Yeah,
on
same, yeah,
Wednesday
yeah.
afternoon. Thursday, really, really heavy carb day. Friday, half the day heavy carb, and then maybe like a lighter pasta meal.
Yeah.
Yeah, on Friday night. That seems to help.
Yeah.
I think everything leading up. And one time I drank tons of water because I wanted to be hydrated, but then I feel like I
Pee it all
flushed my
out, yeah.
system of all my electrolytes, and that was one of the times I cramped like crazy. So I
think that's probably a pretty big beginner mistake because I did the same thing. Like I would just drink a ton of water and didn't drink electrolytes for days leading up. So then day of the race, like you're emptied. Yeah. And I think also during the race is like making sure that you're flushing water throughout the race too. If like you drink a ton of electrolytes, and you're not drinking just plain water, you'll find that you kind of pay the price for it too.
Yeah.
That's like when I did my race, the run 2 weeks ago, I did a ton of electrolyte, probably the best I did with electrolytes and water for like 3 days leading up to the race. And I kept saying it while I was running, but I was peeing like every 20 minutes. But I was like hydrated, like it was clear, but like every 20 or 30 minutes I was peeing like the whole day.
Who let you go in their front yard? Because you were in
A
the
lot
middle
of
of
people-
neighborhoods. That's crazy, man.
A lot of people did, yeah.
I feel like for mine, it's heavy on the rice, kind of like similar with yours.
Mhm.
Jasmine rice that sits better on my stomach than honestly a lot of just like noodles. Because
Yeah,
honestly, I don't
same.
hardly ever eat pasta. Not a huge pasta guy. Love rice though, so
Mm-hmm.
I love my rice. I had rice balls for the Hot Rod Ultra 2 years
Yeah,
ago.
Wade also had a Ziploc bag of beef and rice. Like, this is what I'm going to eat. I'm like, it's going to be like gravel.
I did not eat a
And he
single
didn't.
one of those
I
rice
told
balls.
you,
That was
too.
my favorite thing ever.
That
Me-
was- I mean, it was like 20
So
bags of rice
nasty.
balls.
I
And I was
told-
like, man, this is great.
I told Kevin, I said, that's going to be like gravel when he tries
Well,
to eat
you
that.
told me that, and I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, I knew y'all were gonna be judging me if I did eat.
Yeah,
them.
yes, it was like, he's like, well,
You know what? I didn't do as well as I could because I didn't eat rice balls.
Yeah, that's what it
That was
was.
my fault. And then usually, like the day before the race, I usually get some sort of steak and chicken and like rice with it too. Honestly, something that I know because I usually always have like nerves going into it,
yeah.
and that's usually something that settles.
So
good on
have
my
you
stomach.
ever had like a strategy? Like I'm gonna like my brother Jim. If anybody listening knows Jim, Jim's always like kind of like coming up with some new plan or whatever. So he always had some weird strategy. One time he was eating like what was it? It was like
stuff out of the ditch?
It was like pumpkin like soups or weird stuff the night before. One time it was tuna and something. I can't remember. He had this plan, but
Is this for nutritional gain?
Yeah,
or?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Have you ever had like a weird nutritional strategy that you've tried out?
I don't think that I have, honestly. I don't really think so. I mean,
Rice balls is up there.
Yeah, rice balls is a little-
I didn't execute on it though, so I can't really say I attempted it.
I
yeah,
don't know if I've ever done
nothing
anything.
weird. I mean,
I feel like if you're running, you always understand you want to go into like a pasta before a race, or there's always a pasta
Yeah.
party. If like you're doing a half marathon like event beforehand, or heck, even
Yeah.
our ultra marathon, we
We
put
have a
on something
pasta
similar
party.
like that.
yeah.
So I feel like that's usually everybody's kind of go to.
Yeah.
But crazy like a tuna pumpkin sauce soup. No, I
fillet,
never tried
no.
that before. No.
Well, I think what I like about ultras and what's different about ultras is most of the time you'll find yourself at some point, depending on the distance, I'd say like 50 miles and over, especially, is that you're eventually going to eat whole foods. You're not going to just go on gels the whole
Yeah.
time. Whereas like a half marathon, a marathon, you can pretty well rely on gels and maybe liquid nutrition. But at some point during an ultra, you get to a point where like during my 50 miler I did back in December, I did like 8 gels for the first 7 or not 7 hours, probably like 6 hours of the race, pretty much just all gels. And then I would grab chips here and there at the aid station. And then I get to a point where I'm like, I don't want another gel. Like I need actual food.
Yeah.
And then you start grabbing like, the fruit and then the little pre-cut sandwiches and things like that
Yeah.
too. So I think ultras, it's definitely it's weird to some people to think about eating like a Chick-fil-A sandwich or like a burger or
Not gonna race.
or cheese quesadillas like in the middle of running. But really there's some logic to it, because what I always try to do during ultras is replicate meals during about that time of day. Like around lunchtime, I'm like, okay, what can I eat, like some type of sandwich, and then same with dinner too, and not just chips all day long. So I think that's beneficial mentally mainly. But
I haven't had anything weird, but what I will say is that I feel like it's pretty common for runners to have gels on course. I've never had a gel in my life. Never even tasted it.
Really?
Because I've just heard horror stories.
We
of
got one in the
people-
office right now. I'll let you try it. if you wanna try it.
You got to find the right one.
Yeah, I've heard horror stories of people like, going right through them, and I'm just like, I'm scared. Plus, if I'm gonna fuel while I'm running, I might as well just eat candy. Like, I don't know. That's kind of my thought. Like, I always do gummy bears and Skittles.
Yeah.
It's
How,
great.
how do you do with those chewing them while trying to run? I feel like with me, it would like choke me.
I don't know. Like,
and it would limit me
I
running.
just chew it, and it's fine.
I've done gels and chews are way harder.
Yeah.
Because
Really?
you're
Especially when
having
it's cold outside because they like
Yeah,
kinda
and it's like-
freeze on you.
you're like trying to get them down, and it can be
Power
hard.
bars got not Power Bar. It's Cliff Bar. How's these
Cliff
like
Bar.
power or what are they called?
Energy chews.
They're little blocks. They call them.
Yeah, Cliff blocks.
Cliff blocks.
Yeah,
I used to do those all the time.
they
Those
get
are
stuck
hard
in
to
your
chew.
teeth.
Those
But
are really
they
hard to
do.
chew.
But they're
That's
really,
why
they taste
The
good.
honey stinger
They are good.
chew a lot easier. I feel.
Yeah. I did Cliff blocks during the Derby half marathon, and I took them at like mile 6 or whatever, and it took me like half a mile to eat them. I was like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
I think that's why I like it, because my brain just focuses on something
it
else.
frustrates
Yeah.
me. Like I like being able to just throw a gel back and keep on moving.
That's funny. The first time that I fueled on a run, I brought 2 pieces of bread, and I put it in a Ziploc bag and just tucked it in my spy belt, and then
It's like
Around, like-
sweaty and mashed down
yeah.
by the time you
I mean,
get
I
to
was
it.
just chewing bread, like literally that was it. But
So
there.
Skittles and gummy bears is all you eat.
Well, now it's bonk
What did you
breakers.
eat at our ultra?
The ultra was a little bit different. I brought like a whole Yeti, and I just brought a bunch of stuff because I'd never done an ultra before, so I didn't really know
Yeah.
what I was going to do. But I ate a lot of sweet potatoes. I ate Annie's birthday cake flavored bunny grams.
Mm.
That like
Those are
saved me.
good.
Yeah, those are
They saved me. And then I had gummy bears again, and a couple like turkey slices and things like that. But the turkey slices did not go down.
Did
well.
you eat anything at the aid station that we provided?
Yeah,
Or
I
did you
think
do
so.
mainly your own fuel?
But I think it was getting fuzzy at that time, so I
Yeah.
couldn't tell
Yeah.
you what.
Yeah. I will say you said the like the Annie's, like sometimes you just find a food that works, or you
Yeah.
find something that works.
Yeah, like
I like to call
pretzels.
it, I like to call it like my emotional support snack for that race, or emotional support food. And so I have 2 different ones.
Cuties.
One is, what'd you say?
Cuties.
It's my cuties. I have
then
two
there's the
different
food.
two different types of emotional support food during races. One is a piece of food or fuel that I start with, and it never gets eaten all day, but I start with it, and I'm like,
Yeah.
this is my emergency.
Yeah.
And mine at the 50 miler I just did was that it was like the Nature's Bakery, like Nutri-Grain bars, but it's like the Nature's Bakery brand. I
Yeah.
put it in my pocket of my jacket, and it stayed in there all day. And I was
Y'all
like, just in
switched
case,
that.
this is my emergency. And then by the end of the day, it was awful. And then the second one is the thing that you find that you weren't expecting, but worked great throughout the day.
Trail mix. I love
And trail
Oh,
mix is a lot of times it's either trail mix or some type of like salty chip.
Yeah.
But
Trail mix is good.
yeah. So what is it for you all? Is it usually trail mix?
Oranges. I
Yeah.
love oranges. That's oranges, watermelon. My race, popsicle. They had some popsicles.
Yeah, that's right. I
'cause
forgot
it
you
was
tore
really
those
hot
up.
The
Yeah.
last race I did, and those really they cooled me down. They were. I didn't know All Sport still existed. But
Oh,
they were
really?
They were All Sport popsicles.
So they're probably like electrolyte
yeah,
too.
yeah, they were. Great.
They were probably left over from 2000.
Yeah,
And they
probably.
just had 'em extra
I was
for
like,
the
I didn't know
race.
that was still.
Like,
a
oh, we'll
thing.
use this. But yeah, a lot of times it's something that you don't expect, and it gives you like, I think it's mainly mentally, but then maybe it's going down well. And I have a mix of
I used
different
to
ones.
just hammer peanut butter and jellies, and lately like in a race, I don't want them.
Yeah,
I don't
early
know what-
on you can do stuff, but then when you get to a point where
I
you
will
know.
say my go-to before the race, day of the race, is always a peanut butter and jelly.
yeah.
Every time, an hour before the race, peanut butter and jelly every single time, and it
But-
never fails.
what about you, Wade? Any type of emotional support food that like
Rice and
traditionally
beef.
that's worked besides your rice balls, your
beef
gravel
sticks, chomps.
jumps? Yeah, we knew that.
No, usually it's especially like whenever I've done all my efforts, it's usually out in the heat. It's always like a cold watermelon
Mhm.
with salt. That's usually what I go to.
That's a good one.
That's
a-
a Breckenridge County thing.
Homegrown,
what I
I'm
figured.
very proud of where I come from. So thank you
Yeah.
for that, Kevin. But no, that's usually one, and it's easy on the stomach. It goes down. You can throw electrolytes on top of it. and it doesn't feel heavy once you're doing it. That's especially on the hard mead run. I ate a ton of watermelon that day.
Pickle juice is another one.
Pickle juice. I can't do
I
pickle juice.
I hate
Ugh,
pickles. I've never
hate
been
it.
able to do pickle juice. And then I hate pickles. Oh, well, I don't want to say hate because I
Good
like
pickles
fried
love
pickles.
their juice, though.
I like fried pickles. So I don't know if it's the pickles I hate or if I just like the breading.
do you like corn juice?
I
Or just
love
corn nuggets.
Oh, God. When you boil your corn, you usually dump the water. No, we bucket that. We save it.
Pickle juice is disgusting. I
It's
don't know how
disgusting, but it helps.
People are obsessed. Like at our race,
Ugh.
everybody just like they start attacking you for pickle juice.
I think
And, like,
people-
The pickle juice was good at
makes
the
me
Hot
wanna
Rod
throw-
Ultra,
Oh,
but
People
it
overhype
was
it.
sitting in the sun and it got
Ugh.
boiling hot.
It's got to be
and
cold.
that was awful.
People
it makes me
overhype it.
sick. I don't
It's
know how
overhyped.
people- yeah. It's
Like-
like I would much rather use something else than pickle juice.
I mean, I did it in
It's
my.
gross.
If I get really, really cramping, then I'll take it just because it's such a quick hit of sodium, and honestly, it shocks my system. But it's overhyped. People come prepared with pickle juice, like, "Yep, I'm gonna take this." Well, I'm like, okay, all right,
Yeah,
whatever.
it's gross. I can't do that. Makes
No.
me want to throw up.
Okay, so changing gears a little bit. Best post-race meal or your go-to like cravings after a long run. What are they?
Yeah, I can't eat after.
I don't really.
I was
I
saying,
can't eat
yeah.
after a race. My hormones are taxed.
What I never ever drink Coke, but I always have one after.
Oh
a
yeah, I
race.
remember you said that.
Preferably a grape soda.
Ooh,
But that's the only time of the year I will have one. Like I have
Mm.
not had one since November 1st or
Really?
2nd, whenever I finish the race. Yeah.
yeah. I don't really know. I mean, I think
don't
I
eat,
crave food more so after a long run than a race. Like after a race, it's honestly usually 24 hours later or 48 hours later is when my body is like
Eat.
starving
Yeah.
for everything. But yeah, I think after a long run, honestly, I love like wings. Honestly,
I love the thought of pizza
Yeah.
after a big effort,
yeah.
but I can usually never get
I
any
like-
food down
I like
the day
thought
of the race.
Hamburgers always sound good.
Yeah,
Next
burgers.
day,
Then I always
yeah.
feel sick after I eat it.
For me, it's like like a bar food, like wings or a burger
Corn
or something like
nuggets.
that. Corn nuggets, can't go wrong.
Anything that's bad that I've really cut out through the training process that I want to add back in. That's
Yeah.
usually what I go for.
I feel like Abby would eat
Cottage cheese and-
Cottage
air fried sweet
cheese,
potatoes.
Sweet potatoes.
I mean, I'm like Logan and well, honestly, I'm like all of you guys. Like I can't eat until like later that night, but
Yeah.
that night it hits me so intensely and I'm
Oh,
craving
yeah.
sweets,
yeah,
cookies, brownies,
yeah.
all sorts of stuff like that. But after the ultra, I couldn't eat protein for like 2 days.
Yeah, I will say like when you get over anything like 50 miles or over 50, at that point, like my body is so taxed, like the hormones. I can't even think about food.
Yeah, and I have caffeine like during the races too, so I feel like that also messes with my
Yeah.
stomach too. But yeah, I don't know. Anyways, but what I will say off of our personal meal preferences is that we also have personal fueling race horror stories, whether that's going to the bathroom or having bad food and giving you an upset stomach. Do you have any of those personal experiences yourself?
Oh
that you'd
yeah,
like to
yeah,
share with
yeah.
the audience.
Yeah,
With
I've had a
MuuvWell.
couple. Wade, do you want to start this time?
I've honestly never really had any
Really?
like.
I feel like Kevin and I will set the tone way too high. So
Well,
let's start with Wade.
I really don't want y'all to go first because you're going to scare all the viewers. away,
Yeah, yeah.
honestly, mine's really not that bad. I feel like my issue is like me and Logan always joke when we're going on trips
Oh,
or we're
yeah.
driving far. I have a tiny bladder,
4-ounce
Tiny,
bladder.
yeah, it's maybe like 3.5 ounces, if that. And
Big
so
guy, small
during
bladder.
yeah. But and so obviously during race day you're taking in a lot of water, a lot of liquid, even though you're sweating a lot. I just have to pee a lot.
Yeah.
And so it's very hard for me to like want to stop, use a porta potty, slow down. I feel like
Yeah.
drinking water, that's me on the bathroom side of things. But as far as like other upset stomach issues, really don't get it other than just like an uneasy feeling, but like
Consider
never
yourself
had like
blessed.
blown up. Maybe I'm not pushing it hard enough.
That's probably what it is.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
100% what it is.
It's because all those rice balls you're eating is keeping your body
The
clean.
rice ball doesn't
never
let
thrown
anything
up
through.
in a
I
race, ever.
like projectile. I've only thrown
I've
up
thrown
once.
up one race and it was a 5K.
Oh, real? Oh, yeah.
It was
you
like mile
redlined
2.5 at the top of Kiriakis Hill.
Oh,
I
you
was trying
redlined
to
it.
push. Oh man, I was gassed. That was my first 5K ever.
Go ahead, Kevin.
Kevin set the tone for everybody else.
Well, I've thrown up. I'll tell my throw up
Okay,
story.
tell your throw up
yeah,
story.
so but I've had a couple experiences out of both ends. Yeah, 100-miler. And I always what makes it funnier too is I did it to myself because I've talked about that guy who lived rent free in my head at my 100-mile race. Like mile 72, I passed him. He was leading the race the whole day, and I passed him at mile 72, and he told me like you just took the lead. So then in my head, I was like, all right, when I get back to mile 80 aid station, like I gotta eat and whatever. So I get back to mile 80. And at that point, it's like 1 a.m. or something like that. And so I'm slugging caffeine. I probably took like 150 milligrams of caffeine right there, throwing that back. And then I'm eating like this potato soup. So I'm like drinking the broth, eating the potatoes. And then I take a giant scoop of peanut butter. And so I get all this fat, all this caffeine, all this like sodium from the broth and all this in my system. And I was about to start eating a banana too. And I was going to make like a super quick stop. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, making sure my shoes are good. I think I just changed shoes too. Changed my shoes. And all of a sudden I like sit up straight in my chair and I was like stretching my stomach and they're like, you good? I was like, I kind of feel like I got to get sick. And I'm just sitting there and I had my eyes closed and I open my eyes and projectile vomit everything that I just ate. And it was like 2, like 5-second, like everywhere. My crew was just kind of sitting there and I like, I'm hanging my head. They're like, you good? And I was like, I think so. And so then it took a big hit to me because at that point I was like, I'm 80 miles in, but I still have 20 miles to go. And I just threw up everything in my system. And it's really easy to just get in your head at that point.
Better, though?
I felt like after about, so I sat there for about, it felt like 30 minutes and it was about 8 or 9 minutes. I get up, take back off with my pacer. And after about a mile, that was the best I felt since I started the race. So really it was kind of like a reset to my system, but it was really scary at the moment because I was like, oh no, I thought I just screwed my race.
Did someone punch you in your jejunum or was it just all the food?
It was all the
coming in?
food. Yeah.
I don't ever get sick anymore, honestly. Like I could eat pretty much anything, no problem. But I always have to go to the bathroom before I start the race.
Yeah.
Like that's the key. Like if
Yeah.
you don't, like
I know it's coming at some point if I don't
I'm
before.
in a bad spot. But before I really was a runner, we had me and my cousin, we had a kind of a bet. It was on Thanksgiving. It was on you know this story.
Yeah, I love this story.
We had a bet on Thanksgiving. We're all families together. It was like my house to Scottsville, Kentucky Square was 13.1 miles. Like I bet I could beat you. I can run a half marathon faster than you. I didn't know anything about running. So anyways, I ate a big bowl of cereal that morning, milk and everything.
What cereal was it? Do you know? Do you remember?
Lucky Charms.
It was probably some kind of like
Frosted Flakes or like...
the ones that you think you're being healthy because they have like
okay.
that dry fruit in it. Yeah, they're like cornflakes.
But it's just
fruit.
still like a ton of sugar.
Special K. I'm
Special
sure.
K, yeah, with fruit in
Yeah.
it though, you know.
Yeah.
And so anyways, so yeah, we take off and get going. It's really hilly on the way there. And I just started feeling terrible. I was cramping, all this stuff. And then about mile 8 or 9, it hit me. This isn't the day after Thanksgiving, so there's no leaves on the trees. Me and Logan always laugh. Like,
yeah, find the best looking leaf. Yeah.
So there's no leaves on the trees. I'm in the middle of this like field. And I'm like, yeah, I've got to go bad. I'm like just running. There's no gas stations, anything. So I literally run off into the woods, do my thing, and then there's no leaves. So I find an old newspaper on the side of the road. And that's what I had to use.
Oh, I've had there was one time I was out at Mammoth Cave running. I hope no park rangers listen to this podcast. I'm gonna get arrested. I was out at Mammoth Cave and I told Kevin the story, but have you ever been out there on the rail trail where it's like, it's probably from the interstate, it's probably 5-ish miles in, and it's when you kind of start getting into where the new bridge is and you go like around the sharp right turn, it's a really steep downhill.
I know exactly.
And I was running down that downhill, and so I'm about 5 or 6 miles into my run.
Downhill, gotcha.
I'm going down the downhill. My stomach's just whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. All this fuel I had in my belly, and I start to get to the bottom, and I'm like, ooh, oh no, like what's happening? And I get to the bottom, and thankfully, all the leaves had fallen off the trees, very, very fresh. So the ditch is lined with leaves. So I had to pull an emergency, like had to pump the e-brake and peel off the trail very quick. But then at my 50-mile run a couple weeks ago, I blew past the porta potty because I was like, well, there's 2 miles until I get back to the starting point of the loop where there's a real bathroom. So I blow past the porta potty and like I get a half-mile pass and my stomach just like, I get the pains, you know, like you got to go right now. And were you with me during that? Oh, it was bad. Like I was like to the point where I was like, do I finish and like go 1.5 miles to the bathroom, or I'm a half-mile past this porta potty? Do I turn around and sprint back to the porta potty? Like, and it feels like such a hectic decision at the time.
You're like sweating.
I was sweating. I was like, oh no. People were trying to talk to me like, just shut up, please. Just like let me focus on the steps in front of me. But I made it back to the Karaoke's bathroom and put some work in. So that was good.
So the Citizen Times is going to sponsor the MuuvWell Podcast.
Yeah.
Is that what I hear?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what I've been looking up over here.
Was that the Allen County?
Allen County, Scottsville paper, baby.
That's hilarious. Oh my gosh.
Oh man, the worst is like you're on the side of the road and like a car's coming too, so you're like hiding behind a tree.
Yeah. Oh no.
No, I guess I've had several of those, but they've never been in a race. Thankfully, never happened in a race. But I've had several training runs.
I will say, I feel like there's this innate thing in our bodies that when you know a bathroom is near,
Oh my gosh,
it
it's the worst.
kicks in out of nowhere, and
Yeah.
it's so annoying. And it's you try to explain to non-runners that it just hits you, and they're like, "But what do you mean?" But you don't know that feeling until you felt that feeling, and it's literally earth shattering.
And
You're
it's
running a 6-minute pace.
Oh, it's urgent
flying.
too. Yeah. It's like you think about the poop pains. You've had the poop pains, right? Imagine that hitting you in the middle of a run while you're running. Like the lower part of your stomach just locks up, and you're like, if I breathe a little bit crooked, I'm about to wreck this road I'm on. It can get real bad real fast. The gurgling. Oh man.
Okay, so anyways,
Yeah, next question, Abby.
helping this conversation go from it's even deeper into what we need to get deeper into.
This is real life.
Yeah, it is.
That's life.
That's life.
Shout
man.
out, shameless plug.
It happens.
Thank you for that. Truly, we are open about our bodily functions here on the MuuvWell podcast. To tie it up, just with a fun question, because I love tying things up. It's a little off topic, but still kind of on topic. It's something that honestly I've just been sitting here wondering as we get more and more into our preferences of food. What is your ideal day of eating? And what does that look like? Because I feel like that can say a lot about a person. You find out a lot about a person based on what they eat.
I have my days planned out, and it always gets derailed, but I love what I usually have. So usually electrolytes in the morning, workout. First meal is just like a coffee with a collagen, so some sort of protein that I don't usually eat until 11 or noon. So some source of meat, whether steak, ground turkey, something along those lines. 3 eggs, some jasmine rice.
For lunch?
For lunch.
Solid.
That's usually what I
didn't know
whenever I
this
do
about
that. Yeah. And then dinner, it's usually whatever the family wants. So it's usually
dinner is always
2
hard.
sides of veggies, some sort of meat, some sort of carbs. That's usually what it is. Somewhere in between, I derail myself and have some sort of snack. But usually it's, if I could have the ideal day, it'd be 2 meals, 2 bigger meals or 3 bigger meals, honestly, with no snacking in between. That's usually typically what I shoot for. But I usually go really big on my first meal. That's usually what I try to do.
Yeah, mine's an ideal day. Honestly, whenever I have 3 meals, and honestly, whenever I eat breakfast, I feel like that's whenever my ideal day is, because then I stay fuller throughout the day and I don't feel like I snack as much. So usually, if I get up after a workout, honestly, I like to just do if I had it ideal, I would do 2 servings of egg whites and 1 to 2 whole eggs, and an English muffin with turkey bacon and cheese. And then a coffee or some type of caffeine. And then lunch, I'm kind of the same as Wade. I like doing ground turkey is probably 90% of my lunches with jasmine rice. I'm a big G. Hughes barbecue sauce guy. Some G. Hughes barbecue with either some Frank's Red Hot or just some yellow mustard is really good. And then I'm big cottage cheese for a snack. So I like doing about 2 servings of cottage cheese, a little bit of honey is a great sweet and salty snack. And then for dinner, same thing, just honestly, whatever the family has. We kind of rotate between a number of things, but kind of the same as you, some type of meat and then 1 to 2 veggies and then a carb. So
my diet's not very good. I'll be honest with you. I would love it to be good, but we have little kids, and so. But typically in the morning I eat. I can control what I eat for breakfast. But usually I like eggs. I've been eating a lot of eggs. I really do I like carbs. I love granola. I love granola. I had that this morning. Granola and a banana. Eat a ton of fruit. I love smoothies. But something like that usually for breakfast. I could eat the same thing every day if I, and then lunch, I go home for every day for lunch. So we do a lot of meat and rice actually. But a lot of times it's kids want chicken nuggets. So what we'll do sometimes is make a salad and maybe cut up some of those and put it on the salad or whatever. But we do eat a lot of carbs. Kids love noodles, pasta. So we eat a lot of that. Dinner, I don't know. It's just different. I mean, usually it's trying to take something that the kids will eat and then we modify it for us. Usually, because they won't our son Asher will not touch a vegetable at all. Will not eat it, refuses. So we got to kind of be strategic in that. But I eat a lot of rice. Honestly, rice, meat, that kind of stuff. But there's no consistency.
What kind of rice is your favorite?
I don't know.
Jasmine's my favorite. Yeah.
Jasmine's good. Yeah.
Jasmine's my favorite.
Usually we just have the plain white rice. or-
Basmati, is that type of rice? I like
Basmati's.
that.
I like
Yeah.
brown rice, but it takes too long to cook.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
sometimes we'll get that in the little like warm up bags,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah.
The Minute jasmine rice, like in the box, that's usually my go-to. The Minute brand. But those are the foods that honestly, like, it's ideal from like a caloric standpoint, but honestly, just the way I feel. Like whenever I eat those things, I feel because I'm getting like a little bit of fat throughout the day, carbs, and then protein too.
Abby, what about you? What's your ideal day?
I am a creature of habit, and I wake up in the morning. I have my little morning drink, and then I have my cottage cheese and sweet potatoes every single morning. And then I come back and I'll have like salmon, fish, some sort of protein. But I'm a big dessert girl, so I'll have a smaller dinner and a big dessert. And I do my version of ice cream and fries, which is my healthy Ninja Creamy ice cream and sweet potatoes again. And then I'll usually have like a couple granola bars or something until I hit my protein goal. And that's pretty much it. I'm a conveniency kind of girl. Rice in a bag, protein bars,
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
Well, it's all going to change based on where you're at in life. But yeah, I think the biggest thing for fueling when it comes to from a racing standpoint is just trial and error, trying different things, and honestly, try a bunch of the stuff we've tried. Because from gels to chews to whole foods to cuties, whatever you think works. But yeah, honestly, just listen to your body. Whatever sounds good, feels good. 90% of the time, that's what's going to work best for you. So hope you pulled some value from today's episode, and let us know in the comments if you tried something off the wall that we should try. And thanks for listening. We'll catch you next time.